People are spending an unspeakable amount of time doing work that they hate, that's low value, that doesn't advance the company. We want to turn all that scrap time into wonderful, high-purpose, high-value, innovative time. They have too many dashboards, too many emails, too many meetings. The phrase too many is coming up a lot.
No one has ever eaten in a corporate cafeteria and been like, I wish my kids could have this. I wish my wife could. The message was clearly, don't leave, work at your desk.
No, you
the
know
algorithm is hungry. The algorithm is starving, and it needs... Hey everyone, and welcome to the All It Takes is a Goal podcast. I've spent the last 15 years helping more than 1 million people achieve everything from their smallest first step to their wildest dreams. Building a remarkable life is simple. Great thoughts turn into great actions turn into great results. That's what we explore on this podcast. I'm your host, John Acuff, and today I'm interviewing Juliet Funt. Who's that? I'm so glad you asked. Juliet is a regular feature in top global media outlets, including Forbes and Fast Company. Juliet is a renowned keynote speaker and tough love advisor to the Fortune 500. As the founder and CEO of the firm Juliet Funt Group, she is an evangelist for freeing the potential of companies by unburdening their talent from busy work. Juliet's warm, relatable manner and actionable content earned her one of the highest ratings in the largest speaking event in the world. That is impressive. And she has worked with Spotify, National Geographic, Anthem, Vans, Abbott, Costco, Pepsi, Nike, Wells Fargo, Sephora, Cisco, and ESPN. That's a legit list. You can follow her and access numerous resources at julietfunt.com. Now, the fun thing is, we talk about her book, which is amazing, A Minute to Think, but we go so much deeper in so many different directions. You're going to be blown away by what she did with her family. If you have a family and you've ever wanted to go on an adventure, you're going to learn so much on this podcast. I can't wait for you to hear my interview with Juliet Funt. Juliet, thank you so much for joining me. I've been looking forward to this.
You're welcome. It's going to be fun.
And we first met, I always say the podcast is always easier when I know the person.
Yeah.
We first met at Global Leadership Summit. We've shared the stage there. I've done it twice. You've done it 4 times, which is put you in pretty rare category.
Yeah. Lucky.
Well, you've certainly earned a comeback every time you were there. So for someone that maybe hasn't read your books yet, wasn't at Global Leadership Summit, and didn't get to see you do what you do so well, how do you describe your career, your job, how you spend your days at a dinner party? You live outside of Atlanta.
I do.
You're at a dinner party, and somebody goes, what do you do? How do you answer that question?
I would usually say consultant, but then they would say, consultant on what? And I would say that we help companies now, because we've grown from the beginning, to turn scrap into steel. And that provocative sentence is meant to stimulate the question, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And what that means to me is that people are spending an unspeakable amount of time doing work that they hate, that's low value, that doesn't advance the company, and that we want to turn all that scrap time into steel, into wonderful, high-purpose, high-value, innovative time by changing the way the company works and also by changing the skills of the people in the company.
If somebody heard the phrase scrap and said, okay, I think I might have some of that in what I do, what are the first couple questions you ask to figure out, oh, you are doing a lot of low value work, or you have a lot of scrap in your day?
My favorite one is, how many times per week do people work after dinner in your company?
Okay.
Because I think that is actually the movie snapshot that tells you almost everything you need to know about overload, because it means that the day is probably 11 hours of back-to-back Zoom meetings where they're doodling under the table and bored and trapped, and then there's no time to do real work in the day, so they do it at night. And that's a really big indicator. If companies are generating a lot of reports, if people report that they have too many dashboards, too many emails, too many meetings, and the word too many is coming, the phrase too many is coming up a lot, that's a first indicator. Then next level would be, if things are moving slower than the boss would like them. Is just a really simple way of saying something in the system is draining fuel if things are moving slower than you would like them. And it usually is just that the lens of intentionality has not really been shined on every single thing in work. There are probably broken processes. There's probably a Frankenstack of technology that is too many platforms that only the CTO loves and everyone else thinks is too many. And that's why the consultative piece has really become fascinating for me in the last few years. You can hear from how I'm talking that we've gone deeper and deeper into, hey, let's not just help people find a minute to think, find a little space. Let's create companies where the entire condition of work is conducive to that, where it becomes a place where you can grow, an environment where people can find high performance, high standards, but also margin and flexibility.
You mentioned the working after dinner. I worked for a company once and they started to serve dinner in the cafeteria.
Oh.
And the way they pitched it was, this way you can bring it home to your family. But we all saw through that because no one has ever eaten in a corporate cafeteria and been like, I wish my kids could have this. I wish my wife could.
Right.
The message was clearly, don't leave, work at your desk. What are some other, you're good at canary in the coal mine statements. As a speaker, you can turn a phrase. You certainly do that in the book. What are some other signs of like, oh, that's an unhealthy organization, or oh, that's a toxic culture? Like when you see them, you step into a space and you can kind of go, oh, okay, I know where this is going to go.
Yeah. I would say a sense of anxious deference to the CEO is always a really bad sign. If you step into a C-suite, and you can kind of feel that vibe where everybody is cajoling and pandering to one person, what that means for sure is that 100 honest things are not being said. And if those things are not being said, you can feel that parental, fear-based deference. That's always you're going to find 100 more problems in a group like that. I would say just a kind of weariness that you see in people where they kind of, can put it together for the meeting, but you can just feel that they're just using everything that they can use to get through work. And what's problematic is how much we have normalized that quality of effort. I was on a Zoom call with this guy, and it was early in Zoom days, and I dialed in. I saw him on camera, but for some reason, maybe he had two monitors. He didn't know I was on the call yet. And he yawned, this gigantic yawn. He was sitting at his desk, and then he did this huge sigh, like, oh, and I just like a comedic, cartoonish sigh. And then I kind of made another noise, and he heard me go, he goes, oh, hey, hi, hey, hi, how are you? Hey. And I said, how are you? Go, great, cooking along great. And just pushing it down, that exhaustion and that defeat and that weariness, just shove it down like men are taught to deal with emotions, just push further down. And so it is normalized. And so it's not that the outliers are working that way. It's that is average. And I say a lot of times, just because something's normal doesn't mean it's right, but it's pretty normal. And it's a problem.
And we accept it. And I think what's fascinating, because I read your book and I really liked it, is you took an interesting path here in the same way that I did. The job we do, I tell people, like, it's a weird job. It's an unusual job. Speaking, writing, consulting, and you took an interesting path here, but it makes sense because you grew up in an interesting home. Like, that's what was funny to me. In the book, you kind of were like, oh, and by the way, I grew up here, and my dad did this thing. And it was fascinating to me. So tell us, give us a snapshot of your childhood. You talked about we accept things are normal. It wasn't normal what your dad did as a job, and it wasn't normal the environment you grew up in. So give us a little kind of insight into that.
The question is, are you prepared for only 10% of your listeners to know what we're talking about now? Because it's really a dated reference. But I'll walk you through it.
That percent is the one who has the money.
Yeah.
So it's fine.
Check writers, get ready for the story of your day. Yes.
Exactly.
My dad was Alan Funt from the Candid Camera television show, which for anyone listening under X age might not mean that much, but for people my age, older, my father's, my mom's age, it was a gigantic show. I mean, just name, Smile, you're on Candid Camera. And the beautiful thing about Candid Camera, before I tell you how it affected my childhood, is that it was a beautiful experience that every single generation in a household could experience together with equal pleasure. So you could have a 3-year-old watching the slapstick quality of it, and you could have grandma appreciating the subtlety of it. And there was something for everybody. it was kind, although it was reality television. And my dad was the person who invented reality television. He was the very first person ever that put real people on camera instead of actors. They actually did that in commercials also. It was the very beginning of those hidden camera commercials came from my father also. So I had a very unusual childhood. You know,
in LA? Did you grow up in
No,
LA?
I grew up in Manhattan. So I moved to LA when I was 12.
Okay.
I grew up in Manhattan, and there were just on the end of this huge superstardom of my father. So I do remember being very little in restaurants with people lining up. And my dad used to love babies, and he'd go around, and all the people would let him hold the babies because he was a celebrity. And
That's so fascinating.
that was his big thing. And then I went to 5th grade in a Rolls Royce with a chauffeur named Clarence.
Do you still pretend that you came from the mean streets? Do you ever claim like Queens?
I would ask to switch places with Clarence, of course, but you know, the hat didn't fit, and it was really awkward. Terrible driver.
Yeah, everybody loves a comeback story.
Right.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And it was crazy. And then everything slowly shifted. The show became less popular.
Sure.
My parents divorced. I moved to California. So it was a little bit of a not so hot period right after that. But I don't think that I was really, really sheltered in the early stages of my life. And I think I got exposed to some things that made it hard for me to dig in, work hard. So my 20s were a little bit lost in that regard. It took me a little while.
Meaning you felt like you had to learn some things that felt new in your 20s that maybe you didn't learn when you were younger? Or the realities of life were different than you thought they might be? What do you mean by
I have 3 teenage boys, so we teach them, and they have to do chores, and they have to balance the money that we give them. And if they spend money, they have to put it in a spreadsheet so we know what they spent our money on. And there was just a million things that I was never taught in the princess life of being Alan Funt's daughter in the early days. I didn't know how to do laundry. You know, just simple things that I think in a more normative household, someone would teach you. And I'm sure we're far afield now of whatever speaker, author reference you were heading toward here.
I was curious about this. And I think right now there's some moms listening going, don't worry, Juliet, my teenage sons do not know how to do laundry.
Do laundry
like,
either.
They're not all doing like spreadsheets out there.
No, but I mean, I'll be even a little bit more open. Kimono is, we got some money when we turned 18. And I think that was the biggest mistake that our parents ever made. I think that any form of trust fund sabotages the natural, healthy need that you have to make your own money, figure out your own path. It kind of slows down all those gears in a way that it took me a little while to get past that.
How would you have wished they had done it differently? So you got whatever the amount was, you got it all at once.
At 18.
At 18.
Yeah. I wish they'd given us nothing, honestly. I mean, just classic Millionaire Next Door, if you've ever read that book, that when you are up against the pressure of making money, you learn it. When you're up against the pressure of other kinds of responsibilities that are then tied to not being given things, you learn it. And there's a lot of statistical proof that people who are given money by their family absolutely have more, they're infantilized to the point where they can't make money when they're older. It just happens again and again and again and again. So I didn't completely lose that gear. Obviously, I built a business, but it took me much longer to figure out how to do that and to build those muscles.
That's interesting. As somebody with kids, you know, because you think through that, I've got a 20-year-old and a 22-year-old.
We planned our estate so that they do get some money, but it's later. Yeah. I think it's 40. In our paperwork.
They've already built a lot of their life.
So now it can be, hey, this makes things easier, as opposed to, hey, this takes away all of the healthy pressure that would then make me a focused, disciplined person.
Yeah, this removes the drive.
That's what we did.
Yeah, this removes the drive. So you initially had some background in improv. Was part of that from growing up in a creative household?
Maybe. I thought I was going to be a theater actress in college. I went to Northwestern, which had an amazing theater program, and I thought I was going to do Pinter and Ibsen and Shaw and Shakespeare. And then I remember in my early, maybe around 20, I had a friend who was in his 50s living in communal housing doing repertory Shakespeare, and he was 50-something, and he had 3 roommates, and I thought, you know what? Got to be another way to be charismatic on stage.
Do you remember that moment that you first, that hit you?
Yes, I do. I just thought, no, it was that kind of like one of my other career paths that I considered was social work, which seems pretty far afield from what we're talking about, but I love hands-on helping. I do a lot of hands-on volunteer stuff. But speaking turned into an amazing hybrid that I can perform, but it's just me. I don't have to be a character.
Yeah.
And that's what was different from acting to speaking that really made it mine, that really made it good for me.
You got to own it. It's funny to think about what are the scary moments that helped you along the way. So like you bump into this person and go, okay, this is the future. Like
The cautionary tale of repertory theater, yes.
Like, or you find the number. For me, it was a friend's dad who I'd only met this is the first time I met him. I never saw him again. And I was, I think, a sophomore in college, and I was a journalism major with a newspaper focus. And this is, I don't know, 1996. And he just offhand was like, okay. He said, journalism, by the way, it's dead. There's this thing called the internet. You're gonna hear about it. And I was like, what? And that's not to say journalism died that day by any means, but I started to ask a lot of questions and go like, oh, wait a second. Like, where's this industry going? And are newspapers going to grow or shrink?
Right.
And that was one of those kind of moments that steered me in a direction. So you're thinking about public theater, you're deciding not to do that. What's the next step on and then I did blank?
Yeah, it's a bit of a contorted path, so I'll do it as quickly as I can for you. But theater led to improv, which was fun because now there's no character. And as we've talked about before, we both like puzzles and having to think about things really fast. So improv is an endless buffet of challenging, adrenaline-filled, got to come up with it right away moments, and that was really fun. And I did that for 6 years. And I was a meeting planner as a day job. So I was doing meeting planning, event planning, catering, and improv at night.
Is this in New York?
In Chicago now. We're bopping around. I went to Northwestern, stayed in Chicago for a little while. And the theater group was starting to do their shows later and later at night. So we were getting off stage at around 1 o'clock in the morning, not my jam. And so I'm reconsidering it, and I'm booking speakers for meetings. And I'm booking them, and then I'm watching somebody do funny, charismatic, charming performance without a character. That was part of what allured me, in a daytime setting and making good money and being
not
creative.
Not making improv money.
Which is no money.
Yeah. Yes,
so,
and.
You get paid, there is
you
no
get
money.
paid in laughter.
Right. So I that's when I started getting curious about speaking. So it was kind of a combination of the meeting planner exposure to speakers and sort of starting to feel like, I don't know if I can perform at 1 o'clock in the morning anymore, if that's my jam. And it sort of just fed into that. I did high school first, youth and education stuff, which we talked about.
Yeah, it's the hardest.
And it is the greatest place, though, to build your muscle because, I'm going to go around there. It's bad for someone with a lot of Jewish gestures, this setup here. So
hopefully we can move that.
But I really, really have never been so frightened in my life as 1,000 people in a high school auditorium and 0 want to be there.
What's
and so
the
you
setup
have to,
for you? Like, what if they like? What's your topic? They say, "Hey, Juliet Funt is coming in, and she wants you to believe in yourself," and then you
something like that. Usually worse. It's usually the assistant principal who's like, "Hello, we have a speaker today, Juliet Funt. Please welcome Juliet." And they don't want to be the speaker.
Are you on the gym floor?
Can be the gym floor. Gym is terrible because they seat the bleachers on both sides.
Yeah.
So now not only are you're surrounded basically by people who hate you as opposed to just one side.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's very sweet, but I was telling Bill earlier, who you work with, that there are youth speakers that belong there because they are really outgrown children. And they are still like, they're 47, but they're still goofy in the gym. And they're like, I am not that person. And so what would happen is I would be speaking to the kids, and the adults that were in the room, the teachers and the parents, were connecting with some of the material. And I would go and I would talk to them about it, and different language would come out. And my sense of myself realized that I like that language. I like the language where I don't have to be 14-year-old goofy, connect with the cool kids in the back. I like to be able to just talk with bigger words and be on an adult level. So that's how I transitioned from youth and education to talking for the parents companies, the teachers associations, and that was my leap out of youth and education.
And would you say you've always been a vocabulary person? Because one of the things that strikes me in the book is you are very deliberate about word choice. And it's really nice because as a reader, you get that, but it's not obnoxious where you're trying to say the word to say like, just so we're clear.
I know this giant word.
I know this word.
Should have status that goes along
I
with it.
think one was you described moles, and it was something like downy fur or something.
Oh,
You were describing
I
a mole.
can't remember what the
and
mole
word,
description is.
Yeah, the way you
Yes.
described the fur, I was like, this is a great adjective, Juliet. Way to go.
I do love words. I
Okay.
love them so much. I have always enjoyed the playful nature of words. And I think that is, you're really writing business poetry when you're speaking. You're writing things that can sometimes be kind of tried and true. I mean, a lot of things that you and I both write about or speak about, it's not like we're the first person that ever said,
work harder,
work organize
smarter.
yourself, set a goal, whatever.
Yeah.
But it is, to me, the way that it's going to hit you. And the way that it's going to hit you is built up of building blocks, and that's language and expression and facial expressions and all that stuff. But yes, I do love them.
And you
I do love them.
certainly, you give advice about that in the book when it comes to like how you do your emails, how you do your messages, and like the shade of the communication. If I'm listening to this right now and I'm in my cubicle, maybe I'm
Yes.
I'm driving to work right now. It's not a job I like. I feel disappointed. Maybe I'm not as far ahead as I wanted to be,
Yes.
and I feel kind of stuck in my career. What's the advice you give somebody that feels stuck at their job, that might say, I want to do something else, or I want to be something else at this job? What's kind of your Juliet pep talk you give them? Because there's a lot of them in the book. There's so many different angles you could take on that question from the book. But if you sat down with somebody and they said, hey, I feel stuck in my job, what are the paths you take with them?
Yeah. I would really listen to all the detail. I'd want to know, tell me more about that. What feels stuck? And I would probably next let them know that it's probably not about them, because so many workers are constantly feeling that they must be doing something wrong if this feels this bad. Maybe I need to read another productivity book. Maybe I need to do more yoga. Maybe I need a stress app. No, you don't need all of that. You're in a toxic environment.
Yeah.
And so we talk a lot about the car and the road. And I'll get back to your what would I tell the person. The car is the individual in the organization. And when we do well-being and wellness programs, we're souping up the car. We're giving it better gasoline and better tires. But what everybody forgets about is it then has to drive on the road, which is the organizational norms. So if there's all sorts of potholes and dysfunction and detours in the road, it doesn't matter how good the car is. The problem is that the car always blames itself and always feels guilty. If I was more something, if I was more fit, if I was more this, if I was more educated, so it's not you. It's probably the road. And I think that switching of onus is really important. Next, I think this is referenced in the book, but we have a phrase, we say, be Jane Goodall.
Oh yeah, it's in the
Right?
book.
So be Jane Goodall means that maybe the next step after being nurturing to yourself and releasing that state of blame, then the next step is to be Jane Goodall, to just observe what is actually happening. So what am I feeling? When do I feel it? What is happening around me? Do others seem like they're miserable as well? Is there observable dysfunction around me? I mean, I was having a conversation yesterday that I still haven't figured out what to do with, about why is it that everyone in the C-suite needs to go to therapy? Like, what is that about, that the percentage of leaders that need some sort of personal introspection and haven't gotten it is so high? I think there's other reasons. I think once you build something really big, sometimes it takes certain personality characteristics, and those involve a little bit of edgy potential dysfunction. But observe, are people treated nicely? Is everybody complaining over coffee about the same things that you are? And then I believe with all of that ground setting, you can then begin to say, this is not working. Who can I talk to? What are my options? And just that sort of neutrality of this is not working. Who can I talk to? What are my options? Is usually the triad of questions that I would have people mull over and over and over.
And think through. I want to go back to that idea. So did somebody ask you that? Like
Which one, the therapy?
executives in therapy?
So I'll tell you how this started, and I haven't figured it out yet. Every once in a while, I'll make a joke about an executive, needing therapy. And I would never make it in a way that was embarrassing to them.
No.
Anonymously, obviously. And I started tracking the way that people respond to that reference. And the way they respond is this huge sigh of identification of, oh man, yes, if only our CEO would be willing to go into therapy, everything would change. And you watch that happen, company after company after company after company, and you start building a curiosity of where does dysfunction and executive leadership go together?
Where's the overlap?
Where is the overlap between untended, either baseline dysfunction or actually a mental health issue? Where is the overlap between that set of traits and I am a senior executive leader in a company? And I don't understand it yet, but I think there is some overlap there. It's just it's too consistent a response from people. Now, if I were to play with it, I would say that most of the people I really admire that have built exciting things, and I would say myself included, have some issues, and they've either worked through those issues or they haven't, but those issues made them they contributed to the drive or to the edginess or to the sharpness or to the insight or creativity. It's not uncommon to refer to great creators and thinkers as being a little bit off. And so I do think there's something there. I just haven't worked it all the way through yet.
Yeah, I'd like to see that keynote. That'd be I mean,
as the last keynote of my career when I need to be paid for anything again.
As you retire, that can be your
right.
Into the Truman Show.
Yes,
good night,
it's
goodbye, whatever.
A Therapist for Your Boss is the name of this.
That would be called The Person Who Signs My Check is Mad.
Right. Well, we have a speech that I was titling for a long time, Executive Gluttony. And the speech title referred to the fact that every leadership team always picks too many projects, plans, and tasks, and they need to learn to reduce.
Yeah.
The title, Executive Gluttony, sort of pushed a few buttons the wrong way and was a little too accusatory. But a lot of these guys, and I'm sorry to say that they're often guys, are older men who were not raised in a generation that introspects, and they do not look at their own behavior. And they just can't see it. They just can't see that they frighten people. They can't see that they have terrible modeling, that they're completely incongruent with things they say that people should do and they should do. They don't understand tone. They speak to people in either a rough, demeaning tone or one that is just downright rude, and they can't hear it. And I could go on and on, but I think it's a problem. I think it's really a problem because when they have the breakdown, and then this happens, they either have a bankruptcy or a divorce or a heart attack or a something. They hit enough pain that they're then willing to go get some counseling. They come back as different people, and then things start to change in a company. And why does it take that?
Yeah, it shouldn't take the breakdown. Do you think, if you had to guess percentage-wise, and I won't hold you to this,
okay,
because you're data-driven, you're not a casual person with word choices.
Yeah.
What percent of people change via desire versus disaster? So they hit the thing, the pain gets big enough to change, or they see a thing, they want the thing, they desire the thing, and they're willing to do the uncomfortable work of going after the thing. In your experience, all levels, not just executives, just humans, what do you think that breakdown is?
10 desire, 90.
90
disaster.
Wow. Yeah.
Who does, do you even do, I don't even do physical therapy unless my foot hurts, whatever.
That's a great point.
So you need.
I never just go in to workshop my knee. I'm like, hey.
You're like, hey, let's be preventative about this. There's a rare person, and usually I think they were influenced by someone younger. They started listening to Tony Robbins tapes when they were 19 years old. Right.
Yeah.
And they got the spark of, hey, working on myself is a joy and a project. And they got into it. Yeah. And then I think everybody else just stumbles along until some form of pain goes, psst, psst. And then it gets louder and louder and louder. I mean, but do you think I'm wrong? This is just my off the cuff response.
I don't think you are. I sometimes want to believe you're wrong. I want not, or just the idea of like, there's a ton of desire. But if you pull the thread, like for me, writing books was in part a reaction to, I have all these ideas that this company I'm at doesn't need.
Yeah.
And I got to get them out somewhere. So a book is a good format to do that. And then it was kind of like the next book, the next book, the next book. So I don't know if I'd call that wouldn't be pure desire to me. There's some disaster in there where I was like, this isn't working. I need to change it.
Yeah. And the pain, they say the pain pushes you until the vision pulls you. So I think that sometimes pain gets you started, right? Like pain gets you started towards something. And then maybe now let's say you're working on your fitness, right? Pain gets you started because something's creaky or you can't do what you wanted to do anymore. But then maybe you could get engaged in, now you're watching videos of 72-year-olds powerlifting and you're getting excited about your whole life as an athlete, or you enjoy cooking delicious foods or whatever it is. The vision can, I think, kick in. But what gets you off the seat the first time, I bet, is usually some kind of discomfort or pain.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
And in companies, if we want to jump from people to companies, maybe it's 95-5, because companies just chug along. This is what I was talking today with someone about Fortune 500. You want a company to find, if you're a consultant, you want to find a company in a sweet spot of dysfunction. If they have no dysfunction, they can't use you, they can't help you. If you can't help them. If they're in the middle, it's great. You can help them. You can make a difference. If they're so far on the dysfunction range that they're unsavable, they're not fun to work with. And that is often the Fortune companies. The Fortune 500, they are so entrenched because they don't feel a lot of pain. They just kind of push forward and they just keep evolving into the next stage. Whereas a founder or a mid-sized company, they're up against, fire is on their butt, you know, and they're willing to learn and change and grow. And so I think there's also a company, an analogous version of this that we could talk about.
Have you ever in your own life not started the fire, that's the wrong phrase, but put yourself in a position where it was a little bit of sink or swim in order to get you to grow and change and go all in?
A lot of times. I mean, it's funny. Someone gave me an assignment to find somebody, this was a self-helpy thing, find somebody that you can be a partner with when you want to do something scary. So you're supposed to call them. And I sat there feeling really weird. And I thought, I can't think of anything that's scary for me. I mean, other than physical things.
Sure.
The freeway
like
in Atlanta. No, like the freeway in Atlanta, you know, I'm just terrified of physical things. But I don't have trouble leaping into things. And so I don't have to push myself that way, but I do have to create discipline in myself because it doesn't come naturally to me. All forms of discipline, routine, food discipline, writing discipline do not come naturally to me. So I have to put myself into situations where I can stimulate them. So as an example, let's say you were working on just being in the moment and enjoying your day, and that's your goal. There's a Buddhist meditation that says that every day you should wake up and you should begin by imagining your own death, which is pretty dark.
Yeah.
But you're just giving yourself that little pinch of pain to say, I don't get to watch the snow every single day for the rest of time. I only get to watch the snow in the morning for a certain number of days. And you're just adding just that healthy discomfort. I play a lot of mental games with myself that way, especially around the pain of not doing something. Like if I don't ever do this. In fact, when I wrote this book, someone sat me down for kind of a book intervention because I had been procrastinating really, really finishing it for a long time. And and this person sat me down and said, if you don't write this book, this IP is getting out there more and more and more and more. Someone else is going to write it for you within a year or two. And then I wrote the book. So I think that pushes you in a healthy way.
What was the source of the procrastination?
Ooh, I'm talking to an expert and I forgot. I think when my kids were little, I never really engaged in the business the same way. So as they started getting older, I was more willing, but when they were little, I was only doing the things that I absolutely had to do. And I did used to say a lot of times, I can either be a traveling speaker, there's traveling speaker, author, and truly present mom. I get to pick two of those three. So which one am I willing to do? And I dropped the book. Okay. And so I could be a author and a traveling speaker and have a nanny raise my children, or there was only two. I thought it was only two. And that was really a lot of it for many years.
Yeah. What are the three right now?
Well, it's not about parenting because my three giant men who are all taller than me seem to need almost nothing ever from me except for my credit card. So what is it right now? My three. Optimize myself, all the ways that I can grow and become
so
better,
like health, intellectual, marriage,
morning routine, circadian rhythm, better writing, working on speeches and making them better and better and better. So I would say self-optimization, building a consulting firm, and I think trying to rediscover or re-remember what is fun for me now that my children take so little of my time. Because
Are you good at fun? Like, do you give yourself space for fun?
I don't think so.
I mean, I don't. So that's not a judgment. I don't.
I give myself space, but I don't think I'm good at remembering what I want to do in leisure. You know, I have a 20-year-old, so it's been 20 years of nonstop parenting and also being a full-time worker during a lot of those parts. So I don't remember what I should do when there's a day and no one needs me and it's Saturday and they all disappear into their teenage rooms and I sit there, I don't know what to do. And so I'm just playing like an amnesia victim, you know, like I think I'm taking a watercolor class.
Yeah. Don't I like clay?
I think, yeah.
Do I like pottery?
I wonder what is pickleball? Let's just go for gosh sake and, you know, try it. And I'm in that, I think there's a Julia Roberts movie where she's redefining herself and I can't remember which one it is. And somebody cooks her all the different styles of egg. So she makes a scrambled egg, fried egg, What do you like? What are you drawn toward? And there's something transformative that happens when she chooses the right egg for her personality. But that's what I feel like I'm spending a lot of time on when I'm not working, is finding what would be fun if I really had all this time to myself. Because it's very easy to just make it more time at the laptop.
Oh, yeah.
And when you're an entrepreneur, that can never end. So if you set a boundary with that, which I do, then you got a vacuum, and I'm figuring out what goes in there.
Gotcha.
Right.
Well, I took a day off because of your book.
Oh,
I read your book. Well, recently. I just recently read it. Not ever.
One day off this year, yes.
No, this is a very nice podcast studio. So
yes,
clearly
that's right.
I worked.
That's right.
These mics weren't free. Do you see my name right on the bottom?
I do.
Didn't come that
It's
way. That was ordered
customized.
No, recently when I read your book, I was like, I'll take Saturday off, not do anything work related. Because you do talk about kind of the idea of the Sabbath, whether it's in small segments or big segments. I think the story you tell is it's maybe you in Manhattan. I feel like there are overalls involved.
Yes,
you and your friends and a Shabbat.
We used to do Shabbat. We used to do salad Shabbat. So we should say that I'm a non-religious Jewish lady who's just bagel culturally Jewish and not very observant. But we used to do salad Shabbat, and this was when I was in my 20s. The host would provide challah and one big giant bowl of lettuce.
Like the size of this table?
About this. And then people would bring every topping you could imagine in the world. And we were a foodie group, so there would be like gorgonzola and fabulous chicken and all that stuff, right?
Nice.
And it was, in Judaism, if you were observant, which I am not, you're supposed to take a day off, 24 hours from Friday to Saturday sundown, where you abstain from building or improving or changing the world or yourself in any way. So no aspiring, no acquiring, no buying, no working. And I don't practice that the way that I used to, but I have a version of it where I try very, very hard for a day and a half, a weekend.
Day and a half?
I do a day and a half. I do Saturday when I wake up, I work till people are awake. Okay. I like that early morning slot. And then
teenage boys, so like until 2
11,
p.m.
Right.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's so hard. You're taking so much time off.
So say Saturday lunch through Sunday night, it's all away unless it's an unusual weekend. That's my goal for myself. It's imperfect, but it means it makes a lot of difference.
Do you feel like you have hobbies? Like, do you have any hobbies right now?
Baking is my big hobby, and it's dangerous because health is also
on
the docket as something we're working on.
There's a phrase called competing goals.
Yes. Oh,
like your hobby is cinnamon rolls, and also I want to get in shape. I'm about to change your life.
That's exactly our household. So I am deep, deep, deep in the baking thing.
Like sourdough? Are you doing that?
No, like making a certain Bakewell tart that's an English tart that has jam in it, and then I make it 4 times with different recipes, and then I compare all the crusts, and then I break it down, and then I make it at different temperatures.
Who's eating these? Are your family sampling things?
No, that's the problem. Is everybody's a health nut, and my husband is a carnivore health nut. So I luckily have a neighbor who works at a police department. So that is the saving grace of all of our waistline.
So you're just like
bake it and give it away. Bake it and give it away. Yes. Basically, yes.
That's hilarious. Because your kids don't eat it? Like, you've got teenage boys that are like, Mom, I don't eat carbs.
They're all, no, he's bamboozled them. They don't. They'll have a small piece.
Because they love you.
Did you see The Roses, the movie that just came out by any chance, The Roses? The woman is a fantastic chef and pastry chef and always bringing her children treats. And the husband puts them on a crazy fitness regime and they start saying, we don't eat that anymore. And my husband and I are watching this movie, with daggers. That's my household. So I like to bake. I do watercolor and I do face painting, but there are no more little children that live near me. So face painting has kind of gone by the wayside.
I thought you were going to say you currently do face painting.
No.
And I was about to have all the questions.
No, I actually still do, but it's an embarrassing hobby. So I've never told anyone on a podcast.
But how often do you get to do it?
Whenever a little kid is at my house. So like potluck, parties, Christmas.
That's what I meant.
Neighbors.
I thought you were going to say like, I do it regularly and there's a subculture of face painters you don't know about.
No.
Like I go to FaceCon.
No.
I didn't know where we were going.
No, I have been found doodling on my knees sometimes if I'm bored. But
do you have a go-to? Like you're amazing at lions, but like unicorn.
No,
don't
man,
even
I'm
ask
very
me.
good at all the Christmas repertoire, so I can do holly, snowman, reindeer. I'm getting ready for Valentine's Day. I don't have a thing yet. We'll have to figure out what happens. Yeah, Cupid, hearts. Hearts are pretty easy.
Hearts are pretty easy. Because I like Lego sets, and it's pretty unusual for
when you
an
said
adult.
that, I thought you wanted me to paint a Lego set.
Yes, I would like a Lego set on my face. Actually, we brought your kit. Your husband told us what kit you use.
Yes.
We end every episode the same way with a face painting. It's you've got to do it for views. I don't want to do it,
right.
but
I know,
the algorithm is hungry.
Dang, John, with all those little blocks.
The algorithm is starving and it needs...
So face painting, watercolor, same paint kit. I could just go back and forth, baking, and any kind of entertaining. So we're the house with all the potlucks. I just like having people over.
Because I get that was one of my big takeaways was, oh, wow, I need to do a better job at that. Like what does it look like to take some time? What does it look like to think? What is it like? Because I'm similar to you in that I like to think fast. I like to go fast. Yeah. I have to be paced on stage so I don't go too fast. Like too fast is my default speed. Mm-hmm. So this book really resonated with me of, what could be better if I did take a minute to think?
Oh, yeah. And that's the big question. I mean, Craig Rochelle, we both know and love, and I did his podcast. And there was this moment where he's so successful and he's so driven and he never takes a minute. He just drives like a crazy maniac. We had this beautiful kind of fertile conversation of, you will never know even how much better it could be if you just say it's good right now. So what if Craig Rochelle, with that mind, actually took 10 or 15 minutes and stared out a window and let the mechanisms in there cook a little bit? Maybe it would be even bigger and better than it is, because the brain needs time to process everything that we're doing. And I'm a fervent believer of that at work. I'm also a believer that you just said I have good hobbies, but hobbies and leisure are not even the same thing.
Okay, how would you divide those two?
I would say that I have to be careful that I'm not going from watercolor class to yoga class to I've got to bake 3 tarts to that's just domestic busyness.
When do you know
it's pleasurable, but it's not sitting with fiction on a couch till I fall asleep on a Sunday at 3. That's to me leisure.
Yeah, that's leisure.
You know, and that's really
I've heard of people doing that.
Yeah. It's great. It's the nap where you don't have to do anything at all and there's no other reason and you just drift into sleep. I want to write a whole book about that nap.
Yeah.
I think that's what the world needs.
And then so that's leisure. What's a hobby?
All the things we talked about, I think.
Okay.
Just something that you can program to fill your time. I think you need to be mindful and aware does not just become the domestic version of being overscheduled and busy. This happens for people when they travel too. I think you know that our family for 4 years did something called world schooling, where we traveled instead of school. And we watched a lot of families come by. They're like, we're going to do Bali in 7 days. And they go bop, 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 bop. And they're on trains and planes and moving versus sitting in a place and just experiencing it and going deeper. And so even travel, which is, I think, by definition, one of the goals of people's lives is to have time to travel, it can turn into being over busy, being over programmed, having too full a calendar, too many stops. I think you can do it anywhere because it's a predisposition of the mind.
That decision. So we talked about that a little at lunch before when we were doing face painting. We washed it off. Walk me through that decision, because it's an easy sentence to say. Oh, you remember, John, my family and I, we took 4 years off and traveled the world for world school. Like back up
and go do the whole thing.
did you approach your husband and go, hey,
Definitely
what
me.
if?
Oh, many, definitely me. So we were in a school that we loved in LA. The kids were all graduating and going to.
Graduating what?
From
middle school or high school?
How old were they? The youngest was 8, 10, and 12 when we left. The boys were. And when they were finishing this idyllic school that they had gone to in their younger years called Play Mountain Place, which was...
Play Mountain Place?
Play Mountain Place.
That can't be a real place.
It really is.
Play Mountain?
Yes.
That sounds amazing.
It's a 60-year-old humanistic school in LA where they just basically climbed structures all day long and had optional classes. And your perfect hippie, just play it out. You know, we're all drinking kombucha on the side and watching them.
Were you more hippie or was your husband more hippie?
The school was even more hippie than both of us, but we were pretty even hippies. And we couldn't find any school that we liked. So we started trying to look for schools and they were all a little too something for us. We were looking for, we could do a whole other podcast on education because it's not your topic, but man, is it a problem. And it was very hard to find places that lived up to it. Meanwhile, we heard about this thing called world schooling, that there were websites and Facebook groups and conferences for people who thought, you know what's better than even school? Travel. Travel teaches you everything you need to know about communication, presence, confidence, the world. Budgeting, geography, figure it out, right? Yeah. And so I wanted to go and I pushed on him for months and then
What's your sales pitch like? Like, are you saying to him like, hey, think of the growth of the kids. We can come back in 4 years. Like, what's your pitch?
No, I was going all, what was the word you said? Not vision, but I was going all pain, no pressure. I can't remember our first two words.
Disaster versus desire.
There's no school here. It's not like Play Mountain.
The kids are all going to grow mustaches. They're going to get in these rough schools and have mustaches.
Kids.
Yeah.
Or actually the converse, because in LA, the gang that you're afraid of is the high pressure private school mental health challenges. I mean, it's just the way kids are put into schools really bothered us. So I was going on the pain angle. Are you
seeing that happen with friends too? Like friends' kids, and you're like, oh, that's dangerous. We don't want that.
Yeah. I mean, I just think school is another place where there's no work-life balance. You know, I spend my time in corporate saying, how many nights are you working after dinner? Right?
Oh, yeah.
How many kids, their whole life is, I go do the activity that I'm pressured to do because it will look good on my resume, and then I work at homework till I fall asleep, and then I wake up stupid early in the dark to go back to school to spend 7 hours learning something that I could learn in an hour and a half by myself. I mean, I could go on and on and on about
well, and the starting early, I had a friend the other day, his son... He was telling me his son got into an Ivy League, but it started in 7th grade where they figured out the sport that would allow him to do that.
Yeah.
So then he had to learn the sport. He didn't like the sport. The sport was just a vehicle. And then they had to get a trainer and a nutritionist. And this is all to do the thing because that was the only path that they could see from 7th grade to the school. And I thought, wow, that's a really interesting path. So you pitch it to your husband. You're like, hey, we got to do this.
It's not going to work here. I push a little harder, and my husband is a true romantic, so he does his thing, which is...
He's a photographer. He's an artist.
He goes off and he thinks for a while, and I come in one morning to my early desk where I go where everybody's still asleep, and he's cut out a heart-shaped map, and he just wrote the words, "Let's go," on the map.
That's a great story.
And we went.
Do you ever tell that story on stage?
I've never told that story to anybody.
Maybe that's why you're here. That's a great story.
So we left and we went
pitch the kids. Like how do you tell them? Are they like, heck yeah?
No, they're 8, 10, and 12. No votes yet. 8, 10, and 12. Yeah. We're just, hey, we're going to do this thing. Oh, actually, though, we lured them in we made Kauai, Hawaii the first stop.
Oh,
so it's like, you are going to be so happy. You will fight nothing
you
of this.
You don't start in Ohio.
Much worked,
don't start in Ohio. Right. Just as if there's a listener right now that's thinking, I'm going to do this. Sandusky?
No, you want pina coladas and fried rice and beach.
I love that they don't have a vote. You're like, why would I ask an 8-year-old?
No, that's why it gets tricky. That's why we came home, because they got a vote.
So 8, 10, and 12, you start in Hawaii.
Oh, we started in Hawaii.
How long's the planning session for this? Like, is it months and months of you guys, like, you're mapping things out, like beautiful mind on a wall?
No.
And then we...
I'm the planner, so he just let me pretty much plan it, and he got veto power.
That's great.
So we called the first year, it was supposed to be a year. We called it Skill Chill. So the idea was we're going to go to a place and learn a skill, and then we would chill for a while.
Yeah.
So we went to Hawaii, and we learned to surf. and we went to Cuba, and we put the boy.
Wait, the skill was surf?
Yes.
What was the chill part?
Everything else.
That's amazing. It's not like you said, when we went to Hawaii and calculus, that was our skill. Your skill sounds like the chill part to me.
No, well, then you're not going to like the next one because we went to Cuba and they learned how to dance in Cuba. But
What
it was
is that,
amazing.
like salsa? What kind of dance?
No, it was hip hop. We got them a hip hop dance teacher.
Cuba.
They were the only ones who had to learn the skills. We just got to relax. And So this was just one of the most incredible things in my life.
There's 11 young people that probably listen to this podcast. Yeah, and they're all jealous right now.
We rented somebody's porch in Havana.
Porch
because there was nowhere to do this.
To hip hop dance?
And in the morning, the hip hop teacher there was actually a kind of a dour building that we didn't want to be in. So we rented a porch. And in the morning, the family would come and go. And on the porch, our 3 teenage boys would do hip hop dancing with this guy. Mm-hmm. And we stayed there for about a month and a half. Mm-hmm. And they also did boxing in Cuba was another thing they did a lot of because Cuba's really big for boxing. We went to Italy and we cooked.
The skill in Italy was cooking. So this is all still in the first year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, was Italy? I'm trying to remember. We stayed close to domestic the first year because I was doing speeches still. And then we went, and then we started.
And you're working during this time.
I'm working. Yes. I'm working during the day. And in Asia, I'm working at 2 a.m. And in, New Zealand, I'm working at 4 a.m, the other direction. And that was a little hard on me. But it was the absolute, we did 14 countries in 3.5 years. And it was the most unbelievable thing. I'm such a greedy person. No matter how long it was, I wanted it to be longer. I just could have just gone and gone and gone and gone. We didn't get to do Japan, which was high on my list. But travel, for anyone who's listening, there are so many people that want to travel with kids, and it is so possible. It is so possible to work remotely now post-COVID. It's so possible to find a way to earn on your own, all the digital nomad stuff. And I just think it put beautiful things into the children that nothing else could have.
How did you, so you said it was initially a year. When in the first year do you go, I think we're doubling down. It's 2 years.
10 months.
10 months.
Yeah. Because it just felt like, oh my gosh, it felt like we just started.
Yeah.
And we didn't my boys wouldn't let us do the travel where you move a lot, like I described.
Yeah.
We went everywhere for 6 to 8 weeks. So it's not like you were sampling that much of a sampler platter. We did a funny thing. We went to Europe and I had planned a beautiful 5-month itinerary, and I didn't know that there was this thing called the Shenzhen zone in Europe, and you're only allowed to stay there 90 days. And I didn't know that. So at the end, I had to change it up 5 days before the end. But it was interpersonal. It was scary. We did a lot of physical challenging things like rappelling and climbing and things where the boys felt like they were pushed.
Is a
surfing,
super challenging,
karaoke
Boxing.
in strange towns, terrifying,
Yeah.
It was beautiful. It was the best thing ever.
How do the boys describe it? Like as they're young men now.
Yes.
Like, how do they talk about it?
The 2 younger ones would describe it as one of the best things they ever did and that they loved it. The older one did come away with a little bit of scar tissue because COVID hit 2 years in. So we were traveling for 2 years. And when COVID hit, we were in New Zealand. We locked down in New Zealand, then we ended up living there for 2 years. And he missed having the trajectory to normal high school and normal family separation. And he was with us kind of too long and too tight a circumstance. And so he would have a different story, unfortunately, about it. I think he will grow out of that story.
Yeah, he'll grow out of that story. Yeah,
I think
definitely.
So. If you're listening, Jake, I didn't mean that. And
he is actually a big fan.
Yes.
I didn't want to tell you.
He read your book. We went soundtracks, yeah.
Nice. That is such an amazing story. Yeah, I do think that's a stage story. Like, there's so many lessons in there.
We'll find the
and you can fit it
principal story, whatever reinforcement model.
You just have to find out, how does it serve audience members? That's the question we're always asking. Is like, I don't just get up there to stand 60 minutes and tell you like my amazing ideas. It's like, how are they going to, I always answer the question, what do I do with this on a Tuesday?
Yes.
What do I do with this on a Tuesday?
Yes.
Congratulations, you climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. I'm a dentist. Like, what do I do with that?
Yeah.
Like,
tell me if you feel the same, because I read a lot of books where I'm getting more frustrated with the amount of exposition and context setting that is going on in books. And I'm at the very last chapter in the book, and I'm just barely getting a little bit of applicable how-to content. And I feel like it's getting rarer that there are enough. What do you do on a Tuesdays? I find I'm kind of skimming and skipping now. I just want to get to, what do you do on a Tuesday? How do you apply it? That's my passion also. And in speeches, it should be as much as possible. How can I use it? What can I do with it? What can we do together with it? I agree completely.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's why I like The Road Less Stupid with Keith Cunningham was brilliant because it was all like,
Is that a
here's what you
book?
do. Yeah, it's a
The
book.
Road Less Stupid.
And it's really good. And my favorite idea from it was he says, I'm not, and I would call it a soundtrack, but I'm not smart enough or talented enough to be unprepared. I'm not smart
That's
enough
great.
or talented enough to be unprepared, which I absolutely love. So what's the next adventure? So you guys do that. It's a couple years later. Like now, as you think about your life now and this season of it, what's the next adventure?
I work with a coach, and a lot of coaching is seeing how big you can actually be
Mhm.
and doubling down on making things bigger and bigger and bigger. So for me, really building the consultancy that we're
Mhm.
building is a huge adventure. My ongoing enormous love with the military and especially the Air Force is
Mhm.
probably the most exciting adventure.
Which the sticker on the book says Joint Special Ops University
And
and the
taught at
Army War
Army War
College.
College, yes.
Yeah, not a
Pretty fun.
easily earned sticker.
Yes, I makes me happy, and they make me happy
Mm.
because they are military folks that I didn't know any military folks before 2 years ago, and they're amazing. So going deeper in their world, I would say
Mhm.
probably is the number one goosebump
Yeah.
producing, tingling. I mean, I'm going to be working the Pentagon this year, and it's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable, and they are such incredible humans. They do
Mm.
all the things that you wish that everybody would do. They're respectful,
Mhm.
they introspect, they read, they're always working on themselves.
Mhm.
They're disciplined. They're just fantastic in that dichotomy that we talked about before about a vision pulling you forward. That's who you need to hang out with, not military, but people who are inspiring, I think are responsible for maybe increasing. That's where you could increase that 10% of where
Mhm.
vision is pulling because you want to be like them.
You wanna get to their level and
Yeah.
do the things they're
Yeah.
doing. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Huh.
people you surround yourself with.
Yeah, do you have much patience for people that aren't? That they're you would say, like, they're kind of, this is what it is. I'm not trying to better myself," like, because there would be people that would look at the way you and I both live
Mhm.
and the number of games I know internal mental games you play to be disciplined, the number I play, the stuff I do that's deliberate, the nerdy stuff, the goal stuff,
Yeah,
like, where they would look at me and go, "That's weird, it's a little
or
much,"
exhausting.
or exhausting, or I'd say to them, "What are your goals this year?" And they go, "Oh, I don't do goals." Like, how's your tolerance for that? Like, are you kind of like, "Well, you're just not gonna be in my circle because we won't encourage each
No,
other?"
the secret is that that is actually who I am. I am the person I did stage material for years, and the line was, "Goals are things that you write down to make yourself feel bad later."
Mhm.
And I rebelled against that kind of structure, but when you feel the pain of not being as big as you can be or not being
Yeah.
as healthy as you can be or realizing that maybe you're getting a little older or all those things, it pushes you. So I always feel like I identify with the sloppy, lazy
Sure.
person, but they're reminding me of the part of myself that I don't want to be.
Yeah.
And that sloppy and lazy is also different from I can chill and have fun. So someone who turns off like that Shabbat thing we talked about
Oh,
earlier,
yeah.
who can turn off self-betterment, I think is almost as important as somebody
Super
who can
admirable.
turn on
Yeah.
self-betterment. Just I am fine just for today,
Yeah.
exactly the way I am. That is a whole other skill that I think people like us can forget.
Oh my gosh, yeah. That was one of the lines that probably hit me the hardest was you mentioned something in the book about there's people whose motivation is because there was a period of their life when they weren't making the most of things
Yeah.
and they don't want to go back to that and they're making up for that. And I was like, oh, that was like 11 through 34. Like that
Yeah.
was very that one hit me hard.
Sometimes I think we're achieving at our previous selves. Like, see.
Ah, that's really good. Achieving at our previous selves. How do you
Yeah.
snap out of that? Do you just learn to make friends with that self that you used to be?
I don't really think I'm doing it anymore in that way, but I think it gets you started. Being afraid to be who you were gets you started, and then I think you develop new neural pathways and you
Mhm.
become comfortable being who you actually are, which is life is more fun when you're climbing more hills and
Yeah.
doing more stuff.
Oh, that's great. That is so perfect. Juliet. Okay, two last questions, and these are
Okay.
easy ones. The first one, what's a book you've given away more than any other than your own?
I'm going to give Cal Newport this one with slow productivity.
Mm,
Cal is the one who wrote a phrase that has helped me so much in the last 2 years, which is work at a natural pace.
It's a great phrase.
And that is for my hyped up Energizer Bunny personality. I should have that Sharpied on the wall. So that's a good one. Slow productivity. Work at a natural pace.
Natural pace. I like that. Second question is even easier than the first one. Where can people find out more about your work? Give us all the links. We're so generous on this podcast. Some podcasts you have to try to slip it in.
You are.
Not here.
Okay,
Not
here we go.
Give us links so people can buy and stream and follow and whatever the thing.
Awesome.
I know.
Okay, here we go. So LinkedIn is my home, so that's where you can find me. Our website is JFG, that's Juliet Funt Group, canhelp.com.
JFGcanhelp.com.
That's it. And if any of the corporate folks out there want to find out how much of their people's time is wasted, they can go to our special website, wastedpayroll.com, and they can actually find a calculator that will show them what it's like for them in their own company.
They could be sitting on $50,000 right now.
Well, more. It's usually $1 million for every 50 people. So
$1 million for
million
every 50
of waste
people?
for every 50 is the number.
Oh my gosh, that's
yes.
a lot of waste.
So go to that and you can get your
How have you
calculator.
estimated how many calculator total, how many dollars have been found, identified in the calculator? Is it like
it's usually $4 or $5 million per company. So I don't know, 120, $200 million.
It's great. Quarter bill. That's what I would say.
There you go. Quarter bill is
Yeah, you're like, don't worry about it. Quarter bill.
Quarter B. Quarter B.
JFG, quarter B.
I'm smart and cool. I have never been. I could be smart, but cool.
You don't feel like you were a theater kid. Aren't they cool
They're the
in certain circles?
Nerds that exist, the theater. Like doing Ibsen at a dinner party.
I'll be honest with you. The first three people you named, once you got to Shakespeare, I was like, I know that one. And maybe I'm dumb.
That's okay. That's because you're cool.
You named some.
The cool boy would never know who Pinter is. That's the whole point of the nerdiness.
As soon as you named him, I was like, that must be, I bet that person is very successful and famous in playwriting.
Yes, must have written some good stuff.
Yeah. If I got Shakespeare, I was like, yeah.
That's 1 for 4.
Yeah. 25%.
That's like is that a good batting average
I'm
in
okay.
baseball?
I'm not making the All-Star game, but I'm in the league. Like not a lot of people.
You have to stop now before we go into sports analogies because that's when I'm just going to fall off the table. No.
That's funny.
No.
So, but you tested 4 different types of tarts that you give police officers. Yeah. We covered a lot today, Juliet.
We did. It was
Thank
fun.
you so much for coming in. We'll definitely do it again. And hopefully we'll both be back on GLS at the same time.
The greatest
That was a
ever.
fun overlap.
Good to be with you.
Thanks, Juliet. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode or watching now that we're in video. And thank you for writing the reviews. The reviews you write are so encouraging. So please make sure you like or subscribe or follow whatever it is the kids are saying these days and keep those reviews coming. I'll be back next week. And remember, all it takes is a goal.